All right, so I'm here with my good friend and client, Negreanu, and I wanted to get him here on the video because he had such an inspiring and incredible transformation in the program and in general on his journey. But first, Daniel, how are you doing? All good?
I'm doing good. Good to see you guys here in Las Vegas. Nice, beautiful day here out in the courtyard. Life is good.
Yes, yeah, definitely beautiful day, beautiful weather, beautiful city in general. And what I want to do is first to start with an introduction. So maybe someone doesn't know you that's watching this. I think a lot of people do know you, but if they don't know you, basically just who you are, where you're from, and also what's your vegan story? What made you go into that lifestyle?
Sure, absolutely. So I'm Negreanu, professional poker player. I've won World Series of Poker Player of the Year twice. Nobody's else ever done that. I'm also, in the Poker Hall of Fame, and I've won, I think like $48 million in tournaments up in my career so far. More to come on that. And I've been in the game 25 years. And one of the things that happened when I moved to Vegas was I no longer had mommy's cooking at home, right? So I had to figure out my diet on my own. And right around 2002, 2003, I started experimenting with different things. I remember going to a restaurant, having filet mignon, and the next day having all kinds of issues with, doing my stuff. And so I, made some transitions to vegetarian first. And then I'm like, okay, well, all I'm really eating now is cheese pizzas all the time. And I realized, well, that's not much healthier. So it started the journey. It was before like being vegan was cool or hip. I was already down that path. And in Las Vegas, there wasn't, an abundance of options and things like that. But today it's boomed and it's so much easier. But for me, my reasoning behind it, it started with health first and foremost, my digestive system, all that. Then it became a combination of, understanding what, veganism could do for the environment. And then just when you look at the videos that nobody wants to see, right? Nobody wants to see them, but when you see them, you can't unsee them when it comes to factory farms and things.
Yes, so that was like one of the main reasons that made you then make the switch.
Well, first and foremost, yeah, it was health, right? That was like the number one. I was like, well, maybe this will be, good for me. And I noticed actually even transitioning to vegetarian, I already noticed like a big difference in terms of my digestive system. And further, when I became vegan, I realized like I don't get sick, really. Like my friends I don't really get sick. I just overall, felt healthier. And, one of the things in my 20s I didn't really focus on at all, because I was focused on poker, was like physical fitness or strength. And I was vegan during the time and period where I was like, oh no, vegan, you can't gain muscle as a vegan. You need protein, bro! 600 grams of freaking animal protein, So obviously that's not true. And thanks to you, you've proven that.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting that you say that. Have you had experience with that animal-based diet, like trying to get in shape, and how did that go back in the days?
So no, I didn't, right? Because in my 20s, like I said, I was like 135 pounds, just skinny. All I did was, skinny fat is a term that I learned from you. I was skinny fat and never really trained with as using meat. The only thing I've ever done to build any muscle has been 100% on a vegan diet. Like I couldn't do half a pull-up, before I started, training on a vegan diet. And now, I can bust out a few.
Nice, love it. Yeah, and that's interesting. What happened when you made that switch and then tried to get in shape? What were maybe your biggest challenges there, frustrations, and things that didn't really work out for you on the plant-based diet?
Well, I think early on in the plant-based diet, if you go to like a regular personal trainer or whatever, they give you these macros or whatever, and you're like, well, this is impossible. I got to get protein, all right? So I'm eating beans, but I have to eat beans with no carbs. There are no beans with no carbs, right? So I found it very difficult to sort of adapt the vegan diet into, the recommended diets you would get from people that aren't vegan. And that's why, finding you on Instagram, I was like, this is what I've been looking for. I've been looking for something to understand how I can do this, healthy on a vegan diet. Because I did when I made my own, I'm like, okay, the only way I can do this is if I just eat faux meats, like Beyond Meat only. So I did the Beyond Meat diet, because I'm like, okay, cool, low carbs and all that stuff. And one of the greatest things I got from working with you is this idea that you have to eliminate carbs is just stupid. In fact, it holds you back from being able to train harder and lift more, and it's completely unnecessary. You can cut calories many ways, but it doesn't mean you have to cut out an entire, group.
Yeah, exactly. It's good that you say that, because a lot of people are scared of going plant-based because they think it's such a high carb diet, so it's not healthy for you, you're going to gain a lot of weight. But also people that do go vegan, there's different, there's two camps almost. Like one camp is like, hey, you gotta eat very high carb. And then there's another like vegan keto camp, right? So both extremes again, and both aren't really right. If you only eat carbs and you neglect the protein, the fats, you're not gonna build muscle, not gonna be healthy, because fats and protein are crucial as well. If you cut the carbs, like you said, it's also not going to help you out, because you don't have the energy to strength train and to gain muscle. So that's been probably very empowering for you to realize, hey, I can eat everything I want. I mean, what have you been eating on the journey? What are like your favorite things you've been eating by getting in shape?
Well, that's the thing, you know, working with you, the recipes, like, they're not boring. It's not like kale salad with nothing on it. It's like, you know, I got really creative. Actually, frankly, working with you changed my relationship with food in so many ways, because I started to fall in love with cooking myself. I've had a chef for many years who would just, you know, pack our fridge and whatever, but actually making the meals and creating like pizza or putting a spin on these little, you like, oh, you have to, you know, do this protein thing. I'm gonna make cookies out of them. You know, it was so simple and so easy. And I think there's just a deeper appreciation, but really with the balancedness of the diet, it doesn't feel like I'm starving. When I eat a diet between 1,800 and 2,000 calories, it's 4 full meals. And I don't feel like I'm depriving myself of anything.
Nice. And that's super crucial, because if you have that, then you can keep doing it for life, right? I mean, at the moment of this recording, we worked together for 2 years. And at the moment of this recording, we're actually not working together anymore. I think it has been a year almost, right, since we worked together?
I think so.
But we can dive into that in a second, how it's looking now. But I'm curious, what happened in the program? Like, what were the results that you created for yourself in that time span, like weight loss wise or like transformation wise? And also what came with that? What other benefits did you experience from?
Right, so you know, a lot of the things that you were saying or doing, I watched in your videos originally. This one really was like, excuse me? You know, I was always under the impression that, you know, to get a big, strong body, you bulk up first, right? Get real big, and then you cut it. And you went the reverse way. I remember I was about 176 pounds, and you had me in like, basically for like a year in a calorie deficit, and I got all the way down. I wanted one picture in my life of a six-pack, and I got all the way down to 138.6, which is skinnier than I needed to be, but it was ideal for the six-pack. So being able to do that and say that I've done it once in my life, and you know, really be ripped, it was a great feeling. Now
a picture right here, how he looked. We put a picture right here.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, you know, I had to have that one picture. But now, see, like, because we worked together for so long, right? Anytime if I'm off track or if I have to travel or things like that, I know within 6 to 8 weeks, I can easily, without much adjustment, lose 8 to 10 pounds, healthy, 1 to 1.5 pounds a week. That was the other thing too, I think, that you hit home, is like, this is a process that isn't a crash idea. Like, I have these other friends I know, oh, I'm gonna do keto, I'm gonna lose them. So they lose 40 pounds, right? And then a month later, they gain 55 back. Like, what was the point of that? But this is a gradual, healthy way to continue to be strong, while also, because I think that's one of the things that people used to say is like, well, you can't gain muscle if you're in a deficit, right? But I found that my strength was good. I didn't feel like I was losing strength, but I was losing fat, so you could actually see what's underneath.
Yeah, it's actually been incredible. Like you said, while losing all this weight, like it's like 35 pounds, something you lost, I think. You didn't like get completely weak and you turned out skinny. Like I said, we put the picture, because when you eat the right amount of food, like the high amount of protein, good amount of carbs and fats, and you strength train and you get stronger and you push yourself in your workouts, then you will not end up looking skinny, you will have this toned look, and that's how you transform a skinny fat type of physique. So maybe interesting as well for the training part of the program or the journey. What were maybe your challenges before with exercise, and what have you found changed then throughout the journey of us working together, and what was most helpful for you there?
Yeah, so I think when it comes to like, you know, a training program or whatever, right? You know, with my job and what I do, I would travel the world a lot, right? So it's very easy to get off track. You know, you're at a hotel, you're like, okay, you're out drinking with friends and things like that. But the way in which that you created a system, not only with working out with food, where you can sort of plan for that. Like, that was new to me, the idea that, all right, so I'm gonna go have some drinks at the hockey game tonight. So I'm gonna eat a few less calories today and tomorrow to make up for that. So I'm still hitting it each week. And then, you know, when it comes to workouts, just knowing that, you know, I was gonna have a call with you every week. So those workouts are getting done. I've always been a very self-motivated person in that way. But knowing that, you know, this isn't something I'm just gonna be lax about. I'm gonna take it seriously. And anyone who decides to do that, I think, you know, you sort of have to take that mentality of like, okay, are you gonna do this? Are you really gonna do this? Or are you gonna be, nah, I'll take some things here and there. And I dove full, you know, head first.
Yeah, and kudos to you. I mean, this guy, like, he did everything, like, to the macro. He just got it done. It's very inspiring. And I think a lot of people have a lot of potential on the journey, but just they don't take the action, they don't put in the work, which sounds very simple, but that's what it is, right? That's why you are so successful in your poker career. That's why you had this incredible transformation, because you take what you get learned on, like what you get coached on, and you just put it into practice, like, to the T. And I was like, wow, he actually does everything exactly how you tell him, and it's rare nowadays that happens, but the results speak for themselves. So what have you found, like, why is it so normal for you to do that? Like, what can you say maybe to the person watching right now that's, like, struggling to take action and, like, not putting in the work? Any advice there?
Sure. So for me, I've always naturally been very goal-oriented and motivated, and I've learned that I think the best way, in some ways, to attack, like, any sort of goal is to think about, first of all, what is it exactly that you want to achieve and why? And really have a deep-seated why. Like, why do you want this? Why do you want to lose weight? Because you want to be there longer for your children, and you want to be able to play with them without being winded, whatever that is, something that attaches you to that. And then have that out in the distance, and then work backwards and say, okay, well, now that I know what it is I want and why I want it, how am I going to do it, right? And often having an expert or somebody who's already done it is really beneficial. And then having some trust in trusting the process, right? Because a lot of the things that you were saying, especially early on, are, like, contrary to what I'd read, contrary to, what experts would say and how to work out and all these types of things and how to eat. But I trusted the process, and the results, showed through. You stick to it, and you'll get there.
Yes, that's so powerful. I love that. What has been your why when you started this fitness journey? What was your motivation behind that, and what's happened once you achieved your goal? Did you find it had that impact or it didn't have the impact? I'm curious about that.
I think my number one why is, aside from obviously just being physically healthy, right, is I speak about veganism on Twitter, here and there. I was a producer on the Game Changers film, and I really support the movement, if you will, right? And I thought to myself, all right, if I'm going to try to help change the world and bring more people into veganism, I need to look the part, right? Because you don't want people, vegan, you're skinny fat. See, that's because of what you're eating, soy boy, or whatever people say, right? So I thought to myself, all right, let me prove with my own body that not only can it be done, it's a healthy way to do it and the best way to do it. So that was the number one goal for me, was just saying to myself, all right, I have to look the part, otherwise I can't be saying this is a very healthy diet and look like I'm unhealthy.
Wow. Yeah, that's inspiring, because a lot of people wrote me when they saw your transformation, hey, I want the same, like, how do I do it? And they weren't vegan before. They were like, hey, I'm open to veganism now. It seems to work for Daniel, so I will try it as well. And that's so awesome. And if you're struggling, have a big why, and maybe even have as a why that you want to inspire others along the way. Because I found as well with other clients, it's like one of the biggest motivators, that if you look the part, you can make an impact, you can inspire your family members, your parents maybe, or sister, or friends even, that are also struggling with their health. So at least I've seen your impact. I've seen it firsthand, people coming to us saying, hey, I want the same, and I will do it vegan no matter what. So that's been an amazing
I think really ultimately too is like myth busting and normalizing this as an idea, right? Because, like, we come from, societal norms that we decide are normal, and people have these beliefs, right? They always ask, like, where do you get your protein from? They never ask, like, where do you get your fiber, right? There's so many things that you need in your body, and I think the myth is that people just didn't understand that within a plant-based diet, even if you ate normally without actually focusing on that, you're still going to get more than the recommended daily, intake of protein. Now, obviously, upping your protein, that's one of the biggest things I got, was just making sure that was a base of each meal was satiating. So I didn't feel hungry, because if you're just eating carbs and chips and stuff like that, I find I'll eat that like every 45 minutes or an hour.
Yep.
But having a meal that was filling, some sort of oats with protein in the morning, all of a sudden I don't feel the need to eat 4,000 calories. It became easy to be in a cut.
Love that. Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the biggest takeaways I have for you as well. Increase your protein intake, and you immediately see the benefits from that. So you talked about, like, going out to, like, a game, drinking some beer, maybe, like, going to events. How are you able to navigate that now while still staying in shape? How do you go about it, and how do you make sure you stay healthy while still enjoying life? Because, again, of course, you can just do everything perfectly for the rest of your life, but who's going to do that? I mean, you want to enjoy time with your family, your friends. So how do you do it?
Yeah, so obviously, during the program and everything, I'm very regimented and I'm doing everything as is. but there's an end point where it's like, I don't want to do that for my entire life, but it gave me all the fundamentals and learning and knowledge of knowing that anytime I need to do that, I can do that, but I also get to have some self-love time. I can do whatever I want. I don't have to be that weird guy who every dinner he goes with like a boxed lunch, and he's like, oh, I can only have this and that, right? So allowing myself to have a night. Okay, so whatever, I had a couple drinks, I maybe ate a little more than that this week, but next week I can always catch up. And I think renegotiating with yourself too, and some of the things that we did was, there were certain times where maybe we were ahead of schedule or behind schedule, and we were making subtle adjustments. Like, all right, let's cut 100 calories here, add a couple 100 calories here. And just knowing and having the faith and belief because I've done it makes it easier for me to occasionally veer out and go to dinner with people and have whatever with them and not worry about, oh no, I'm so off track, because I know how quick I can get back on track.
Yes. Powerful. Yeah, and that's what you want to have. You want to have a lifestyle change that you can sustain for the long term. That's fun to you. So how's life now? We talked about this before. We haven't worked together in around a year, I think, since the program. So what changed since then? Are you still having the results, or did you gain all the weight back? How's it going?
So I did a little bit of both. Obviously during the COVID pandemic, and life was different for a lot of people. I wasn't traveling as much, and I stuck to. I've dabbled with a few different things here and there, like what I called like a fat December, right? Where December during the holidays, I sort of just decided, all right, I'm gonna like eat what I want, do what I want, and then in January, we'll get back to it. And it was like turning on, a light switch. It just automatically, went back on. But I've come to just real terms with the idea that like, I'm very comfortable with where I'm at. I have a lot of faith in knowing, like my health journey and understanding it. So yeah, while I had my fat December and it was a blast, it was a blast having vegan cakes and pizzas and the whole deal, which I still could have, when we were working together. But, just incorporating fun into my life has been something that, you sort of talked about near the end was, just getting to intuitive eating, where I have an idea, roughly, even if I don't count the calories and I'm not measuring, I can sort of eyeball things now and be like, all right, I probably had about 2,000 calories today.
Love that. Yeah, and that's really empowering because you know exactly what goes into your food. A lot of people, I think, are like just clueless for their whole life. They're just like, okay, this is bad, this is good food. And then they either are fully off track or on track. And they have these 30-day diets where they just go crazy on juice dieting and they gain all the way back. So having that system, understanding food, and then putting that into a lifestyle context is just so powerful.
I think one of the best things I got from it too, from a food perspective is, some people are like, only eat the most purest, organic, whole food possible, never have anything that veers from that. And first of all, it's just not realistic, right? Never ever put oil in anything. I'm like, well, it sort of makes it taste better a little bit, and I can incorporate that into the macros. So just sort of getting away from this idea that you have to eat in such a 100% pure way, that you can actually eat predominantly whole food, plant-based diets, but you can also have some Impossible burgers if you want, and different things.
Hell yeah, awesome. I love that. So what would you say to the person watching this right now? It's like kind of on the brink, like, hey, I want to do this, I don't want to do this. It's like scared to make a decision, or even scared to invest in themselves financially to get coached on their journey to achieve their goals. What would you say to that person?
Yeah, well, I would say simply this. Listen, if you're not already on track to reach your goals, then it requires change, right? Keep doing the same thing you're doing. It's not going to get you anywhere, right? So it's a risk. It's something that you have to make a deep commitment to. But here's the best part. If you follow the plan and you do what you're told, it does work. It will work. It is guaranteed. I would put my personal guarantee that if you actually do the work, you will get there. But ultimately, it comes down to you. The benefit, though, is you'll have a coach to help you, right? So that when you do get off track, because you will, you're a human being, you have someone there that can help you get back on track without also feeling horrible about the fact that, you didn't hit your goals for a week or two. It's a long-term process. And I think when you focus on it being long-term rather than like a quick fix, I'm gonna do this juice diet for 3 days and I'll be cured. Once you get past that and commit to it, the results will speak for themselves.
Wow, amazing. Yes, absolutely. Thanks so much, Daniel, for sharing that. And again, props to you for your transformation. I mean, I'm still inspired by what you created for yourself, and you're still in shape, as I saw. So we just arrived here. I was like, hey, let's see if
he got round.
But he still got it. So amazing work there. Keep it up. And also love that you're in different projects trying to bring the movement forward, the vegan movement. That's awesome to see, really making an impact. And if you're also curious about the program, then you can check out the link below and click to apply and book a free call with us to talk about where you currently stand and where you want to go and see if coaching is the fit or not. Just like Daniel said, it's a commitment, but something that will really impact your life if you implement it. But yeah, Daniel, thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it.
You got it.
Keep crushing it.
All right, man.
Making
We'll
those
do.
gains.
Yeah.
And save the players. And we'll talk soon.